Hey everybody, this is Matt with Pocket Pennant Run. I don't normally do sort of an unboxing video without, preparing exactly what I'm going to show you, but I'm just really excited about this new project. I say new project, but really this has been a game that's been in the works for the last couple years. In fact, it was the first game that I ever made. When I first started getting into board game designing, which was right around when the COVID pandemic happened, this was actually the first game I ever made. And there's been multiple versions of it. The first version was all components that I made on my own and sold out of my house. Um, and eventually, my interest in baseball board games continued to grow to the point where I started playing a game called Dead Ball. I met Craig. We got together and started thinking of an idea for a game, and we ended up with Pocket Pennant Run. But really, all that starts with Small Ball. So this has been a couple of years coming. And if you remember, for those of you who have been with us for a little while, if you remember about a year ago, we released a single card version of Small Ball. That was for the Game Crafters Single Card Challenge, and that was a lot of fun to make this game a lot smaller. But now I really wanted to do this game right and make it the way that I've always kind of wanted. And Craig provided me with some great ideas and some great feedback, and I'm really, really excited to now finally present what I would consider uh, the version of Small Ball that I've always wanted, and I've always kind of dreamed of what the game would be like. So let me, like I said, I haven't really planned any of this at all, but let me take you through the game. I'm going to set up the whole game and show you a little bit how to play. I'm not going to get too much into the rules, but I'm just excited to show this to everybody because I've kind of been working on this sort of secretly for the last couple months. Craig's the only one who really knows I've been working on it, but I just got this this prototype of the game, and it looks really great. So let's dig into it. So as you can see on the front, it says Small Ball, a push your luck baseball dice game for baseball lovers of all ages. So this game was designed by myself and Craig. It is one of our C&M games. Uh, Now we've got two games, this game and Pocket Pennant Run. This game is definitely designed more for, I would say, family play. It's a two-player game. You can play it solo if you want, but it's really about the back and forth. And it's great for younger kids. It doesn't get heavy into statistics at all. It really just focuses on the game of baseball and the excitement of making strategic decisions. And there is a push your luck element, which I can talk about in a little bit later. But if you look at it, we got some nice art on the front. Really happy with how all this turned out. We got a new logo for the game. And the way we designed the box is very similar to Pocket Pennant Run. So when you kind of set them next to each other, they look really cool because they look like they're from the same, from the same batch. So if you look on the back, it says "Celebrate the art of small ball style baseball," and we'll talk about kind of what that means. So let's open this up and see what's inside. I think some of you are going to be kind of surprised by how different this is than Pocket Pennant Run. So inside, we got all these. We've got one D6 die. We've got all these little black things. We'll talk about what those are in a second. We've got these little tiny cards. These are tiny, tiny cards. And you'll see one of them has a QR code. We'll talk about what that means. I'll take these out for now just to have them sit off to the side. Again, I'm really happy with how all these components turned out. They really do an awesome job at the Game Crafter, and this is a great example of the great work that they do. So, little tiny cards, and I'll show you what those are in a second. And then here, fits perfectly in the box. Excuse me, is our game board, and you can see that it actually folds out into a full diamond here, and kind of lay it out like this. It lays nice and flat. And let me get this in a place where you can see it really well. Yeah, there we go. So let's talk about what's happening here on the game board. So obviously we've got a baseball diamond here. This is going to keep track of our innings. We've got our score here that we'll keep track of. Outs will go over here, runs will go over here. We'll talk about why that is. And then each team has 2 cards that are going to go here. Those are pinch hitters. So let's get the game set up. And as I'm setting things up, I'll kind of explain how the game works. So let's get organized here. Set some of this off to the side. All right, I'm going to pour these out and explain what they are. Okay, so here's our D6 die. We've also got some markers here that I'm going to set aside. So these little things are actually like card stands. And what they do is they hold these little cards. Now I'm going to set these couple cards off to the side. These are actually our pinch hitters here. So we'll set those off to the side. But if you look closely at these cards, each one of these cards has a little character, almost like a little avatar on them. Like I said, this game is geared more towards, maybe like kids and grandparents or kids and parents playing together, or just 2 kids playing together, or 2 adults, doesn't really matter. But so I kind of wanted to give it sort of a youthful vibe. So we did a lot of art that involved little kids. So each one of these cards is a unique little kid, and you'll notice they have numbers here and numbers here. I'll talk about what those mean, but we've got 9 of the blue team and 9 of the red team. And what we actually do is we're going to take each one of these cards, put them in a card stand like that, and that makes a player on the team. So move these off to the side. And I'm going to start putting these together. So each team would do this, so go twice as fast as how I'm going to do it. But I'm actually going to put these in order and just put each one in like that. And I'm going to set them up basically like they're a little lineup. I'm going to set up all 9 players, and this is going to be, in fact, our lineup. Each team will have a lineup, and the runners will move around bases just like normal runners would in a board game. So these are kind of like our board game pieces or board game characters. So where small ball is unique from a normal baseball game is that, like I said, there's a push your luck element to it that makes it unique. I got my inspiration for this from the game Zombie Dice, which was one of the first dice games that I ever played that has a really simple push your luck element to it. And basically, in Zombie Dice, you accumulate points, I guess, as you're rolling dice, and then the push your luck element is kind of the classic push your luck element where it's, you can stop or you can keep going. It's kind of like, the old classic game show Press Your Luck, where it's like you could stop and take what you have, or you could be greedy and go for more. But if you bust or you go too far, whatever that means for your specific game, you lose everything. So that is, I decided maybe I could figure out a way to apply that to a baseball game. And in order to do that, you basically have to change the fundamental rules of baseball. And so the way that I did that is you're going to accumulate runs just like you would in a normal baseball game. But in a normal baseball game, when you reach 3 outs, the inning is over and you get whatever runs you had, right? But in this game, if you reach 3 outs, you bust and you lose all of your runs. So you have to stop and bank your runs before you reach 3 outs. So if you have 2 outs and you've scored 2 runs and you decide to go for it, and there are incentives to keep going for it that are in the rules. There's some built-in incentives to make it, to encourage you to be risky and go for it. But if you've got 2 runs scored and 2 outs and you go for it and you get an out, you actually lose both those runs. So in order to score runs, you have to stop before you get 3 outs. So that's totally different, obviously, from normal baseball. And, maybe for some folks, that's, it doesn't really gel with you, and you are kind of like, well, I can already tell this isn't my thing. Excuse me. because it's not like real baseball. But I would encourage you to give it a shot and to maybe be open-minded to some variations on baseball. Whether it's things like banana ball or various types of variations on the game of baseball. I'm personally a big fan of banana ball, and I like the idea of bringing fresh ideas to baseball. I still love the original game, of course, but I like having interesting and unique twists on the game, and this is certainly a unique twist. Okay, so I've stalled long enough. I have all my guys lined up. It's a little hard to see these guys down here, but I've got them lined up 1 through 9 down here. And then if the opposing player was sitting on this side of the board, they would have their 1 through 9 facing them left to right. But it just appears right to left for me because the cards are all double-sided. Okay, so I'm going to use this little clear stone to mark what inning we're in. So we're in the top of the first. I'll just put my die right here. And then we've got a red and blue chip. These are going to keep track of the score. So we start with both of them here. And as teams accumulate runs, you move your particular chip around the board. So if the red team scored a run, they'd move here, here. If the blue team scored a run, they'd move here. So nice way to save a little bit of space on the board. So we start with both on 0. And then we're going to put our pinch hitters out. So each team gets 2 pinch hitters. We'll get there in a second. I'm just going to kind of get the board ready to go. So we'll set up the power and the on base. And then this card here, I had an extra card. So what I did is I put the QR code on here. And it says scan this code to view and print the rulebook. Just to save space and to make sure the game is not too expensive. I opted to not include a rule book in the box, and instead you can scan this QR code and go to a website that will give you the rules. The rules are really pretty short. It almost felt unnecessary to do a full rule book, but you can go to the website and you can look it up on your phone. You can also print it. I put a PDF version of the rule book on the website, so you can just print it as well. And if you want to put it in the box, that's fine. Okay, so let's talk about what's happening on each one of these player cards. I'll pick up the first one in my blue lineup. You can see that it's got a 1, and that'll help. That just the 1 in the left corner, and the numbers in the left upper left corner. Help you keep track of what order they're in. We do want to keep them all in order because each player has different attributes. There are some similarities, maybe between like 2 different players, but there's about 4 or 5 different variations of players. And what I tried to do was mimic actual batters in a lineup. So your leadoff batter is going to get on base. In fact, this batter has a 50% chance of getting on base. But further down in the order, like in the 9th spot, which in National League style baseball would be your pitcher, and that's kind of what this is based off, is National League style small ball. A little bit more strategic, less power, and you can see this 9 batter only has 1 opportunity to get on base because the 1B is a single. Just so that I'm not skipping over the symbols, FO is fly out, GO is ground out, SO is strike out, and that's really other than a walk, which you can see on this first one. Those are the only results in the game. And again, this is not a simulation, so we're not really concerned with where the ball is flying out to or where the ball is grounding out to. It's a much more streamlined way of doing, running a baseball game, because the idea is to keep the game pretty simple, move fast, and focus on kind of the push your luck element and not so much the simulation element. So what happens is, if I've got my first batter up, I'm going to place my first batter at home plate like they're batting, and then I'm going to roll my die. My die lands on a 1, and if I look at the card here, I'm just going to look at the first result. You can notice there's 6 results. That's the 6 sides of the die, so I get a single. So I'm going to move my runner to first base, and then my next batter comes up. It's really that simple. So again, this is pretty easy for kids to understand how this game works. But there are some elements that keep things interesting for more experienced baseball folks. So if you're playing with a kid, you may just want to just do that. Just look at the results on the cards and just play that way. And you don't even necessarily have to do the push your luck element. If you just want to play a regular game of baseball, that's fine. This is very flexible and you can do it however you want. But if you want to add a little bit more strategy and a little bit more interest to the game, you can do base stealing. Base stealing is really simple. In this game, again, simplified, every player has the same speed, and that basically is a 1 through a 4 on the die is a successful stolen base, and a 5 and a 6 is a caught stealing. So just for the sake of interest, let's go ahead and roll the die and see if we can steal a base here. All right, so we rolled a 3, so that runner, that stolen base would be successful. So like I said, 1 through 4 is a stolen base, 5 and 6 is thrown out. So I'm just putting a runner on second. So let's go ahead and roll for this runner. This batter. And you'll notice this batter has a double on their result, so this batter has the opportunity to hit a double. And the fact that each batter has different attributes, it allows you to kind of think about your strategy. If you know you're at the top of the order, or you're in the middle of the order where you're getting some of your best hitters, you're going to approach things differently than when you're at the bottom of the order and you have your hitters that are going to strike out a bit more or not get on base as much. So yeah, let's just keep rolling. Whoops. I probably should roll off to the side of the board as opposed to right on the board. Let's do that again. All right, so I rolled a 2, and a 2 on this card is a single. So batter moves 1, runner moves 3, and we have no outs. Okay, we'll go to number 3. So number 3 has a slightly better hitting than number 2. Got a double, single, and a walk. So let's see what happens. And we roll a 3, and that is a walk on this card. So we've got bases loaded with no outs, and we've got our cleanup hitter coming up. Cleanup hitter has 2 doubles, a walk, a flyout, a ground out, and a strikeout. So let's see what happens. He rolls a 5, which is a ground out. So in this case, in this game, if you get a ground out, the batter's out, everybody else moves forward. So in this case, the batter would be out. So we're actually going to put the batter over here on the outs side of the board. Notice those outs. And we're going to take this runner and put it on the run side and then move these guys up. So right now I have 1 out. And I just keep track of my outs by looking at how many guys I have over here. So I have 1 out and 1 run scored. So one thing you have to think about here is I don't think I'm going to stop and bank my run with 1 out because I have a runner on second and third. I potentially could score more runs. But if I was in a situation, say, that I had a runner on first and I had 1 out and 1 run scored, I might have to think about that a little bit more. Because if I were to take this next batter up and hit into a ground out, it would actually be a double play, which would be 2 more outs, 3 outs. This run would not count. So I'd probably still go for it, but I'd just be thinking about it a little bit more. But there's not really a risk of a double play in this situation according to the rules of this game, so I'm not too worried about having 1 out and 1 run bank. So I'm going to go ahead and swing away with my number 5 batter. He rolls a 5, and that is a ground out. So again, this batter is out, but both runners advance, meaning we have 2 runs scored. So now I have a decision to make. I have 2 runs scored and 2 outs. If my next batter goes up and gets it and records it out, these 2 runs don't count. So I think what I'm going to do for my first inning, be happy with that, and I'm going to bank these 2 runs. So now 3 goes to 2. I'm going to put these guys back. And what I'm going to do, just so I know who's coming up next inning, I'm just going to move this back a little bit, move my number 6 batter back so I know who's coming up next inning. Okay, so I'll put everybody back. And that is 1/2 inning of how small ball works. Let's go ahead and do 1/2 inning for the red team. And I'll try to use some of these pinch hitter cards. So we'll move this down to bottom of the first. We've got our first batter up. And let's roll away for the red team. Okay, rolls a 4, and that is a fly out. So that's 1 out. Number 2 comes up. That is a 2, which is a single. Runner goes to first. All right, our number 3 batter up. I'm not going to worry about stealing the base at this moment. Okay, a 6. That is a strikeout. So that's 2 outs, and now we have our cleanup batter up with 2 outs. And he rolls a 1, which is a double. So we're going to move this runner to third and move that runner, or the batter, to second. Now, if I had less than 2 outs, one thing I might think about doing, I could steal a base. I can't steal home in this game, though. But what I can do is do a sacrifice. So if I, and this, again, this would be if I had less than 2 outs. You don't want to sacrifice with 2 outs because your inning's over. Basically, what you would do with a sacrifice is very similar to a steal, is that you roll this 1 through 4 is a successful sacrifice, which means that all runners advance, but the batter is automatically out. If you roll a 5 or a 6, it's a strikeout, meaning the batter is out. Nobody moves, kind of just a wasted out. Now, you might be thinking, what is the major difference between a stolen base and a sacrifice? Why is one better than the other? Why wouldn't you just always steal a base? Well, the disadvantage of stealing a base is that if the runner is thrown out, that runner's off the base paths. Versus when you're sacrificing, if the batter gets out, sure, it's an out, but you don't lose anybody on the base paths. But then also stealing a base, you can kind of do it in any situation, and you're not basically giving up an out. If you successfully steal a base, there's no out. But either way, with a sacrifice, there's always going to be an out recorded. So there's kind of a pros and cons to both. And it kind of depends on your situation, what you want to do. But they're both 1 through 4 is successful. 5 and 6 is not successful. Okay, so, but we're not even in that situation. There's 2 outs, so we're not going to sacrifice. We're going to roll for number 5. Okay, number 5 gets a 2, and that's a single. So this runner is going to score. This runner is going to go to third. Okay, so we have 2 outs and 1 run banked. We've got our number 6 coming up, and if you look at number 6, you'll see that he only has 2 opportunities to get a hit. So that I would have to think a little bit about what I want to do there. Do I want to take that risk, find out with the bottom of the lineup coming up, or would I just be happy with my 1 run and stop, bank that, and go on to the second inning? One option, I guess 2 options that you have, and typically I would save these till later in the game, but some people like to use them early. It just kind of depends if you're having a big inning or not, is using your pinch hitter card. So I'm going to show you the blue ones just because they're closer and we can see them better. But each team has an opportunity to use 2 pinch hitter cards. So the first one is an on base, and it says for the current batter, a strikeout result becomes a single. So I like to use the on base pinch hitter. And again, this only works for 1 batter. And once you use it, you have to flip it over, and it's been used. But I like to use this for my number 9 batter because my number 9 batter has 3 strikeouts. So that's really 3 singles. So all of a sudden, your bottom of the lineup becomes a really powerful, really useful on-base tool. So you want to think about when the best time to use that pinch hitter is. And then the other pinch hitter is a power pinch hitter. It says for the current batter, add 2 bases to a hit result. So that means a single would become a triple, and a double would become a home run. And that, in fact, is the only way you can hit a home run in small ball. And I've actually never hit a home run in small ball. It's just never happened to me. But the point is, this is small ball, right? It's not supposed to be about getting home runs. It's about manufacturing runs by moving guys around, by singles, sacrifices, stolen bases, being strategic about it. So you have those opportunities. So just for fun, let's go ahead and so we've got our number 6 up. He's got 2 strikeouts. So maybe it would make sense in this scenario to use my on-base pinch hitter. So again, that means a strikeout result becomes a single. So I'm going to flip that over, and I'm going to go ahead and roll for number 6 batter. And I'm risking this run because if I get a third out, it doesn't count. and I roll a 2. So he got a single anyway. It would have been a single regardless, but we did get our single, so I'm going to move these 2 runners up. He's going to score and go over here. And I think at this point I would take my, excuse me, take my 2 runs, bank those, and we'd have a tie game after 1 inning. So put those there. I'm going to go to the second inning. Again, I would push this guy back just so I remember who's supposed to bat the next inning, and then I will put all of my other players back where they belong. So that, in a nutshell, is how you play small ball. A typical game takes about 15-20 minutes. It gets really fun in the later innings because games typically are pretty close and they're within a run or 2 runs, so all of a sudden situations earlier in the game where you might have played it safe, later in the game you're pushing your luck and you're batting with 2 outs. And you're swinging away with 2 outs and runners bank because you want to get that lead right there in the 8th or 9th inning. One other thing I forgot too is if you have runs banked and you have 2 outs, so you've got 2 runs banked and you've got like a runner on second, another incentive to go for this, to push your luck, is that typically in normal baseball, when there's 2 outs, runners are running on contact, right? They're not waiting to see what's going to happen with the ball. When the ball is hit, they run. So we sort of adapted that idea to this game to where if you were to roll, let's see, there's a bad example. Let's put somebody with a single. If we've got our number 2 batter up and she rolls a single, so we roll a 2, this batter would actually score. So anytime you're going for it with 2 outs and you have runs banked, all runners advance 1 additional base because of the run on contact. So it's just a little extra incentive to take a shot, push your luck, try to go for that extra run. But remember, if you get an out, you lose these runs. You bust. So that is small ball. All of these components, like you saw, all fit inside this nice travel size box. It's the exact same size as the Pocket Pennant Run box. They look really nice together. They look like they're a nice little set. And this game will be available soon. I'm thinking that I'm actually going to do a crowd sale on the Game Crafter, so keep your eyes out for that. Again, really excited about this game. I think you're going to love it. It's a perfect companion to Pocket Pennant Run for those of you who like to play, stats heavy games, and maybe you have family or friends who don't like the simulations but they like baseball. This is the perfect game to play with them. So I look forward to sharing this with you very soon, and thanks for watching.